Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. We've seen suspensions issued by teams for things all the time. We've seen it for misconduct, for missing photo shoots, for violating team protocol or curfew, for failing a drug test or a fitness test, for speaking out against a coach or a teammate. You name it, it's probably happened. But 99.9% of the time, these suspensions happen during the week. They might happen before the game, but they're not going to take place in the middle of a game. You're not going to see a coach suspend a player mid-game to the point where the player leaves the locker room and goes home early, never to play for that team again. But man, do I have the story for you today. In a 1966 game between the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons, what should have been a joyous occasion considering the circumstances, quickly became a sour mood. Because in the middle of the game, Lions head coach Harry Gilmer suspended one of his own players. He told him to pack his bags and just go home. This is the crazy story of the time a player got suspended in the middle of a game. Before talking about the game in question, we need some context leading up to the moment. The player in question is the immensely talented Joe Don Looney. If you don't know anything about him, let's just say he was a bit of a character. Everywhere he went, he would showcase his talent, and then the coaches would be so fed up with him that he'd get kicked off the team. At Oklahoma, he got kicked off for allegedly quitting on his team in the middle of a game against Texas, where he had just 6 rushing yards. Not realizing the giant red flag waving right in front of them, the Giants drafted Looney in the first round of the 1964 NFL Draft. He got traded after 28 days, didn't even play a preseason game. In the span of a month, he speed ran his way off the team in a way that would make Isaiah Wilson jealous, by refusing to show up to practice or media sessions, or refusing to abide by the team's dress code. The Baltimore Colts wound up acquiring Looney, but even Don Shula was fed up with him. And multiple people close to Looney said that Shula was the closest he's ever been with any coach, and yet even he was sick of his antics. As author J. Brent Clark said, Shula said you couldn't trust Looney when he went in the game. You couldn't be sure what he was going to do. Was he going to run the play that was called, or was he not going to run it at all? It also led to a bizarre incident in a parking lot. In November 1964, it was election season. Barry Goldwater against Lyndon B. Johnson. Looney was speaking with a couple in the lot, and the two disagreed. Looney liked Goldwater, and the couple liked LBJ. Even though the discussion was heated, the two sides went their separate ways. In a normal world, that's the end of it. Somehow, Looney figured out where that couple lived, and that night, broke into their apartment and attacked them. He was fined for assault. That, combined with a fight with his teammate John Deal, made his tenure in Baltimore an absolutely rocky one. He had found a way to work himself off another team when after the season, he got traded to Detroit. Somehow, nothing happened in 1965. It seemed to be a miracle. He even showcased some of his talent that season by finishing inside the top 10 of the league in rushing touchdowns. But in 1966, everything went south. Entering the 1966 season, Looney was not happy with his role on the Lions. He knew that his playing time was about to be reduced significantly. In the first round of the 1965 NFL Draft, the Lions drafted fullback Tom Nowatzki with their first-round pick out of Indiana. Even though the Jets spent the 4th overall pick in the AFL Draft on him, Nowatzki chose to play in the NFL. While he didn't play a lot, most rookies back then didn't play right away, so the 1966 season was going to be Nowatzki's time to break out. Looney requested a trade before the season started, as if he had any leverage whatsoever, but nothing happened. But head coach Harry Gilmer knew that Looney was frustrated. As Gilmer said, Looney had the feeling for a couple of weeks now that he should be our number 1 fullback. After not playing in week 1 and running just 4 times in a 17-3 loss to the Steelers in week 2, we're finally ready for the chaotic moment. September 25th, 1966. The Detroit Lions are hosting the Atlanta Falcons in this absolutely critical game. Back then, only the conference winner made it to the postseason. For the Lions, who were 1-1, they had little wiggle room, especially since they were in the same conference as Vince Lombardi's Packers. For the Falcons, who were 0-2, they had no wiggle room. Start 0-3 in a league where only first place makes it, and that's a death sentence. And early on, it was all Detroit over the expansion team. Even Joe Don Looney got in on the action, and in the second quarter, had a really nice 24-yard touchdown run to make it a 14-0 game. So far, everything's going swimmingly, but that's about to change. On Detroit's next drive, Looney went in there to start things off. He even caught a critical screen pass to keep their drive alive. But once Detroit got near the goal line, he got pulled. Nowitzki came in and scored from 2 yards out to make it a 21-0 game. Looney was visibly frustrated that he didn't get a chance to score on the drive, especially since he had a nice few plays on the drive to get the Lions in that position to begin with. On the ensuing drive, Gilmer asked Looney to send in a play to quarterback Milt Plum. How the system usually worked was that Nowitzki and Looney would alternate. When Looney was in, Nowitzki would get the next play on the sideline and vice versa. It was almost like the Broncos' system of alternating quarterbacks during their 1992 game against the Cowboys, which you can check out by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Looney didn't want to do that though. He told Gilmer, "If you want a messenger boy, call Western Union." Looney just staged a revolt against his head coach while the Lions were winning handily. Naturally, Gilmer benched him. At halftime, Detroit was up 21-7. In the locker room, Gilmer asked Looney if he wanted to play and if he was ready to change his attitude, and Looney said no. So after that, Gilmer told Looney, "Stay in the dressing room. We don't need you." He suspended Looney indefinitely in the middle of the game. Now there are two sides to every story, and Looney said that he was hurt and didn't want to risk injury. But considering everything we know about Looney, and the fact that he's clashed with literally every single coach in his career, I'm inclined to take Gilmer's side. Looney was gone. He left the stadium during the game and afterwards was very upset at Gilmer, saying that he can't see how he plays for Gilmer again, even if he lifted the suspension. Fortunately for him, he would never have to play for Gilmer again, because one day later, he was traded to Washington. Why did head coach Otto Graham want to acquire Looney in the first place? Well, he didn't. In fact, he practically begged Washington not to make the trade. Dan Snyder doing something stupid against his coach's wishes and acquiring a player no one wanted was not the first time that Washington did something like this. To the shock of no one, it didn't work out. He played 14 games for Washington, scoring 4 touchdowns on just 3.1 yards per carry, and was let go in the middle of the 1967 season after once again clashing with everyone on the staff. What's that quote about zebras and stripes? There are certain moments that I just wonder what would happen in sports media if it took place today in the 24/7 media cycle. And this is one of them. I can't even imagine the reaction of sports shows and the content they'd have if a player did this to his coach today. Even though the Lions won the game 28-10 and were convincing the whole way through, nobody was talking about that afterwards. All the talk was about Looney and his antics. Joe Don Looney had a lot of low points in his career, and getting suspended in the middle of a game, well, that has to be up there. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JRGator9 and subscribe to 60-second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.